funny because when I finish a work, I don't really think about so much like what happens to it afterwards. But Instagram has changed that. Nothing about mural painting appealed to me initially. My practice is by design very hermetic. I'm in the studio, I'm experimenting. So the idea of like exposing that process was always like really nerve-wracking for me. And then the physicality of it, of the height, that is like something that I get over to make the work. Because ultimately it's really fun to work on this scale, and that outweighs the terror. Literally, when I got the fancy spray cans, like I didn't even know how to open the stupid thing. I'm using all of the materials that I use in the studio with workarounds. So paintbrushes have yardsticks that are attached and taped to them. Paint rollers have 30-foot extenders. There's a lot of ladders, and those are great. And then there's scissor lifts, which are not great. The actual scissor lifting is really frightening for me. You can't really back up when you're 50 feet in the air. I do hope that it can offer people a refuge, a positive, safe moment to like get lost in. I was making this one mural on this kind of sketchy intersection. There was this one guy who had always been kind of in the background watching. He was like usually disturbed. And when I was finishing up, I turned around and he's like crying. And he's like, you know, this area is so hard and it's so terrible and it's like so amazing that there's now this like beautiful thing to look at. I was so taken aback. It was just so touching, and it meant that there was a connection to somebody that was having a really hard time, and that made him a little happier. Social media and art is at a really interesting crossroads right now. I love when people use the imagery for their own personal expression. It's like a view into how somebody else views the work. Maybe 10 or 15 years ago, I feel like museums were having such a hard time getting people interested in art. So on the one hand, you can be like, this is so irritating. People aren't really looking at the work maybe. They're just there to take a picture of themselves in front of it. But they're there. They are looking at it. Maybe that's the cup half full version. There's not like a certain endpoint of where I've made it that it's like, oh, now I'm successful. For me, it's just this is the only way that I can fully relate to the world and all of my experiences of it. It's just this slow burn.